Join me today as we make some hopia, but we're going to make it over the stove. You don't need an oven, and this is going to be a gluten-free recipe using beef tallow and butter instead of lard and shortening. And you can use regular flour for this, but this is just showing you can make it gluten-free, and it's just as delicious and crunchy and simply irresistible. Today we're using ube halaya, and we're also using red bean as filling today. You can use a ton of filling. You can even do savory fillings, but that's what we're using today. And let's get started. For our first dough, we're doing half a cup of water, half a cup of a neutral oil. In this case, I use sunflower oil. You can also use avocado oil, or if you prefer vegetable oil, just don't use anything with a strong flavor like olive oil. Then you'll just add here half teaspoon of salt or like a pinch of salt, and then 2 cups of flour. In this case, I'm using a measure for measure, cup for cup gluten-free flour. I've also done this with non-glutinous rice flour with very similar results. And of course, you can just use regular flour if you don't have those dietary requirements. So this dough comes together really fast, like maybe in 2 minutes. You don't want to overmix it just until it comes together. Then we're going to cover it and stick it in the fridge while we make dough number 2. Dough number 2 is just going to require 1.5 cups of flour. You can, use again flour of your choice. It'll come out similar. In this case, again, gluten-free flour. I'm doing 3 tablespoons of beef tallow, and I'm also going to do 3 tablespoons of just salted butter. You can use unsalted, you can use margarine. This is traditionally made with lard and shortening, but I made it this way, and people have not been able to tell the difference, and they're actually shocked when I tell them it's beef tallow. You'll also add here half a cup of sugar, and you're gonna start mashing this all together. Because the tallow doesn't melt the same way that butter does, like tallow really melts to like body temperature or warmth, it will just be stable at room temperature. It's not gonna melt. So until this gets to a sandy texture, I use this tool, which is a lifesaver. It's so much easier just to kind of mash everything together evenly. And once I see like it's in a sandy texture, I start squishing it with my hands so that my body heat from my hands can transfer to the tallow and soften it a little bit. And it gives me a better idea of the texture of the dough. You may find that you need to add a little bit more butter if you don't find it coming together too easily when you do this, which you could totally do. It's not going to hurt the dough at all. It actually just adds a little bit more crispiness. So here I've just compressed it into the ball, and I'm going to also stick this in the fridge. You can see it's kind of held together, and we're going to call this done and put this away. So while we get started on the next part, which you could actually make ahead of time, purchase whatever you'd like. You can make your own ube halaya, which I can show in a different video, or you can purchase it. It's way easier. This red bean I actually made for a dessert called butchu butchu, which is just adzuki beans cooked down for a really long time and then mixed with sugar. So I froze them in packets, and I love using this for hopia to like switch it up. So all I did was defrost it and then form it into these balls. If you're using ube halaya from the store, make sure you keep it in the fridge first so it kind of makes it more solid and easier to mold. Because when it's room temperature, if you get it like in the jars or something like that, it's going to be really hard to make these shapes. So I just went ahead and tried to make as many as I could. This recipe makes about like 24 or 25 depending how big you cut your dough pieces. So here I'm going to show you the next part, which is preparing the surface to create our laminated dough. I really love this really big rolling pin, but it's gonna stick to the dough. So what I do is I wrap it in plastic wrap before I get started, and I'm just gonna lightly flour this surface. I really love this silicone mat. I use it for making like my sourdough bread and cookies and all kinds of stuff, but it keeps your table clean, and it's like a non-stick surface. So we're using this. This is dough number 1, the very first one we made with the oil and water. And we're going to pound this down and roll it out. So you're going to roll it into a rectangle. It doesn't have to be super, super thin yet, because when we add the second layer, it will thin out further. So all you're going to do is just go ahead and make this into a rectangle. It shouldn't take too long, as this dough is really, really soft, and it should come together fairly quickly. You don't have to make it perfect, but just try to make it as close to a rectangle as possible. Don't worry about your edges if some are longer than the others. we'll end up fixing this in the end. It's not going to be a big deal. And now we're going to do dough number 2. So this is the one with the beef tallow and butter and sugar. So you're going to crumble this into pieces and kind of layer this on top. So it's going to look really crumbly. And then once you start flattening it out, I place another plastic wrap on here to make it easier. You can do this a couple times and readjust until you kind of smooth it out. Your original first dough will actually spread out as well, and that's totally fine, and you kind of want that. So now we're going to do the first fold. We're going to end up doing this 2 times before we finally roll it up. So just fold 2 sides into the center and then top and bottom into the center. And then we will call that done with our first fold. And then we're going to roll this out again. So you can see here, it's a nice, cute little rectangle, and do the same thing again. Roll it out the same exact way. And once it's around the same size as what you started with, we're gonna have to fold it back in again. And don't worry, that's gonna be the last time you have to do it, but it makes it so worth it to get the really beautiful crispy layers, which I'll show you here shortly when we cut it. So this is the part where it can get kind of hard just because it's a lot of rolling, and it can be kind of tough to roll this out, especially with the tallow and the butter. But it comes together so beautifully. You can tell that it's coming together really well. You can't really see the separations anymore, but when you cut it, you will. So here we're just going to start rolling it up. Again, don't worry about the size. We can cut it to fit, the amount that we need. It doesn't have to be exactly the same or perfect because we're just making this for home, and it gives it a more natural look versus like a store-bought look, which is not super important when you're just making this for your friends and family or yourself. So we end up in this really long log, and I cover it with plastic wrap to keep it from drying out too much because it's going to be exposed to the air, and I use one log at a time. I cut it in half, and then I cover the other that I'm not working with. So you want to make about 24 to 25 pieces ideally from this dough. You can see like the skinnier ends will probably chop a bigger piece, but you're just going to roll it out kind of like you do a dumpling wrapper, enough to where you can fit the filling inside. You don't want it super thick and you don't want it too thin either. So this is about the size that you would want it, and you can see the little swirls there from the different textures in the dough. So I'm going to start with an adzuki bean. It holds way easier together. So you're just going to go ahead and stick that in the center, and we're just kind of fold the edges around it. And this part that you're seeing right now is going to end up being the bottom of the hopia. So it doesn't need to be perfect. And then once you get it all closed up, or as close as you can get, we're putting it in a round cookie dough mold. It's like a 1.5 to 2 inch size. You can make them bigger or smaller, but this to me is the ideal size. You press it down so it like fits the shape, and then that's it. That's your first hopia done. I'm going to show you the same thing now with the ube halaya, which is a little bit different because it's a lot softer, but it's still the exact same process. You can see here we're just going to roll it out again, and then don't worry about the edges. Again, this is because it's gluten-free dough. It's going to be a little bit more delicate and break a little bit more easily, but you'll see at the end that the difference is very negligible once it's cooked. It's just this part of the process that makes it a little bit harder, but you can see that perfect spiral, and we're just going to go ahead and wrap it up and do the same thing. When I make multiple flavors, I tend to indicate which one is which with a small little symbol to me. So it's either black sesame seeds or regular roasted sesame seeds. For in this case, for the ube halaya, I'm just going to put regular roasted sesame seeds on top as an indicator so I know which flavor this is, because they look really similar when they're cooked. We're just going to continue doing this with the rest of the dough and the rest of the filling, and we're going to have a pan on low heat. You don't want it too hot, but make sure you preheat the pan a little bit. Don't be like me and use your bare hands. It's just, I swear, I can touch really hot things. I'm just so used to cooking, but don't do this. The reason I do it this way is because I feel like if you use certain tongs, it makes it crumble and squish, but don't use your hands, use utensils. Ideally, you want to use soft tongs, not these, so it doesn't get squished like maybe ones with like a silicone tip. But we're going to flip them. It probably takes around 3 minutes on each side. And we're now going to do the sides of it because I do like to have the sides cooked. You don't have to. Some people don't do this, but I like it this way. So you'll just every like 30 seconds to a minute, rotate it. And you do that with every single one of them. So just repeat this exact same thing with all your hopia. You want it lightly brown and a little bit crispy. And we're going to place it on the cooling rack where it will continue to crisp up. And that's it. It doesn't have to be super, super browned. The alternate version of this is you can take the same thing and bake it after you egg wash it, but this is the easiest way and it comes out so delicious. Your friends and family will love it. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more recipes and home and garden content.